All right, well, happy Friday, Central Georgia. I always have to think about what day of the week it is whenever I say that. We are going to take a look at the extended forecast. Of course, this is more than just the extended forecast. We have a lot more details as we get closer to Saturday with that winter weather potential that's moving into portions of our area. We actually just got a big update right around 10:15 this morning, a big expansion to the winter storm warnings, and the winter weather advisory now includes more portions of our area. So I'm going to kind of show you the latest on that. We'll talk about what you can expect for all day on Saturday, and then of course that weather impact alert does go all the way into Sunday morning. So we can talk a little bit more about what Sunday morning actually entails, because it's not winter weather, it's just going to be extreme cold for the entire area. So a lot to break down for the third weekend in a row, but luckily this is the end of January, so hopefully as we turn the page on February, we will have less frequent winter weather in our area. But starting off with the sky cams, as always, you can see across the area, we did have a little more sunshine this morning, but now that we've headed into about the mid-morning time, the late morning, cloud cover has started to increase across the area. So this will kind of be the case through the rest of the day today. You'll notice a little more cloudiness. You will notice temperatures that are not terrible. It's 45 degrees in downtown Macon right now. Across the board, you can see we don't really have this true polar air in our area yet. It will eventually be here, but the temperatures that we're sitting under comparably, yes, they are still cool, but they're not quite as bad as areas up to our north. And again, what we will be experiencing as we head into the upcoming weekend. So across the state, temperatures are actually fairly consistent. We got some low 40s up in the northern Georgia area and some upper 50s down in South Georgia. So here in our area, we are on a little bit of a spread with that. We are in the the low 40s up in our northern counties and the low 50s down in our southern counties. So what's going on today? The reason that we have a little bit of cloudiness out there, we have this kind of stationary boundary hanging out with us today, so it's going to cause some cloudiness and then eventually the chance for at least one or two light stray showers through this afternoon. The rain chance overall, it's not going to be very large. You should stay largely unimpacted from rain chances through the rest of the day today, but it will be there on the 7-day forecast. The high temperatures today will be in the mid 50s. So notice the average high for this time of year is 60 degrees. So mid 50s is still below average for this time of year, but kind of my motto of the day is no matter how cold you think it is today, the weekend is going to be so much worse. So overall, mid 50s is really not that bad, especially because the low we were at this morning is going to be closer to the afternoon highs that we have in the upcoming weekend. So big cold is on the way is basically the story that you need to know for now. So here is a current look at the satellite and radar. Mostly we see cloud cover. We actually did see some areas down in South Alabama and southern Georgia that had light freezing rain early this morning, strangely enough, but now that's transitioned mostly over into rain as our temperatures are now above freezing. When we flip off the clouds and just look at the satellite and radar here in our area, you'll notice not really a lot going on. So like I said, you may catch one or two stray light showers through the day today. Anything you catch is going to be extremely short-lived and overall probably won't have much of an impact. And then of course, the next thing that we focus on is Saturday, because that winter weather chance starts early on Saturday morning. So I want to show you the big picture setup first, because sometimes what can get lost in our winter weather chances is that we're always kind of on the fringe of these winter weather chances, and the main impacts tend to be further towards the north or towards the east or towards the west. This time we've got this big low pressure system that's going to be circulating over the Carolinas, so they are going to have the main impacts. But on the back end of that circulation, we kind of do get caught up in the mix here, which is why we still have somewhat of a winter weather chance here in our area. So you can kind of see the circulation of that. It pushes out off the Carolinas into the ocean, and then we are done with it by the time we hit late night Saturday night into early Sunday morning. So it's really just a one-day situation that we're talking about here. And like I said, we do still have a weather impact alert for Sunday morning, but it's not because of winter weather potential. It will solely be because of temperatures. So your winter weather alerts show the same thing. Obviously, main impacts where that center of circulation actually is, and most of the impacts will be here in the Carolinas, but it does still include portions of northeastern Georgia and portions of central eastern Georgia as well. So this is kind of the big update that we just got, like I said, at around 10:15 today. It was a big expansion of this winter storm warning and this winter weather advisory further into our area. So previously, it actually really only included Jasper, Putnam, Hancock, Washington, Wilkinson, Twiggs, Baldwin, and Jones. Now you can see that it expands into a whole lot more of our area. So the whole thing really that you need to know with this is we can break it down piece by piece. So first we have this area in pink. This is a winter storm warning. what that really means is that these are the areas that the National Weather Service has the most or the highest certainty in winter weather impacts. So these counties that are outlined in the pink here, again, winter storm warning. Snowfall is expected in these areas. The forecast is lining up where it's looking pretty certain that these areas are going to be impacted by some sort of snowfall as we go throughout the day on Saturday. It's also the area where the totals are forecasted to be the highest. So here in our counties, now you will see information about the winter storm warning as a whole, forecasting higher totals. I took the forecast for just our counties. On the highest amounts, we're talking about up to around 3 inches. You will see some projections that I'm going to show you here in a minute on different model runs of it trying to bump it up higher than 3 inches. Locally, there could be 1 or 2 spots that get a little bit higher than 3 inches, but overall on a county-wide basis, we are talking about at the highest right around 3 inches. So that is the winter storm warning. We're looking at totals between 1 inch to 3 inches, expecting accumulating snowfall over in these counties. There is a little bit of a difference though. We do have the winter weather advisory. That's these counties that are outlined here in purple. The only real difference here is that, again, snowfall is still expected to impact these areas, but in lower amounts. The higher accumulation is going to be over in our eastern counties. You saw kind of the way that the system grazes our counties. These areas could still have some accumulating snowfall, but it's going to be in the locally lower amounts. So we just saw that range was 1 to 3 inches. This range is going to be right up to about 1 inch in some of the heavier spots. A lot of these areas could still be seeing trace amounts, but this is kind of the highest that they could get in these counties that are outlined in purple. I will note that there is still portions of central Georgia that are not in any sort of winter weather alert. We have Taylor, Macon County, Crisp, Wilcox, and Dooley. These areas, I think, potentially still have the chance to catch a flurry or two, but overall, accumulating impacts are going to be for the counties that are outlined in the winter weather alerts. So that's kind of the breakdown of what that means, but of course, it helps to kind of see it. So let's break it down on the future view here. Like I said, this starts early tomorrow morning, so probably likely sometime before you're awake. A few model runs have even backed this up to around 4 or 5 in the morning, but we know sometime early morning on Saturday, we're going to start to see these showers, snow showers, I should say, moving into our northern counties. So they kind of start in the north, and the focus is going to be on the eastern counties. So we'll play this out into about the mid-morning and late morning hours, and you can see the heavier totals are going to be focused on our eastern counties. There is still some snow happening in the other areas, again, the areas that are in the winter weather advisory, but the totals are going to be a little bit higher towards the east. And you can see that as well just by how much longer they're getting snowfall also. Now we're at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. This is kind of most of the day that the snowfall has already been falling, and it's still happening over in the eastern counties. That's why they're going to be able to rack up a little bit more in terms of snowfall totals. Before I continue with this, something I want to point out is you can see how much the winds pick up as the system moves past our area. So the winds are going to be really important. First of all, it's just going to make things feel a whole lot colder. Second, it's going to help keep these temperatures near freezing even after the snowfall moves out. So anything that falls is definitely going to stick as we head into the overnight hours on Saturday night into early Sunday morning, because even daytime temperatures on Saturday are still going to be below freezing. So that's just something to note. We'll talk more about temperatures here in a minute. But again, going through most of the day Saturday with these snow showers falling in the eastern counties. Now we're at 7 p.m. and most of this begins to move out of our area, and we stay completely clear and completely quiet overnight into early Sunday morning. We're going to do, because we're on the stream, a little bit of every model to kind of show you what the consistency is here. The models actually with each other have been in pretty good agreement over the last couple of runs. The only difference is that they keep kind of going back and forth as to how far west these snow showers actually move, which I think is why the National Weather Service kind of ended up changing their guidance in the winter weather alerts, because this latest run of models have all pushed this a lot further to the west, which gets more of our counties here in central Georgia involved. So I think they're covering the bases for potential accumulating snowfall further into central Georgia as well. But this is the HER model. This is a high resolution model as well, one of the better ones that we have. So if we go by what this one is saying here, early Saturday morning, same kind of time frame, play this out to about the mid to late morning, and you can see the accumulation over in the eastern counties is going to be a little bit higher, but still trace amounts to up to 1 inch over in that winter weather advisory. We play this through most of the day on Saturday. The focus is again on the eastern counties. They're getting more consistent rounds of snowfall throughout the day. And then as we go into the late night and overnight hours, all of that moves out. Again, this will not be a Sunday situation where we actually have snow falling, but we will have snow left over as we wake up on Sunday morning. So same thing, but this is a long range model, so lower resolution. We just looked at the high resolution models, and this one, again, when we're this close, we can use the long range models. The high resolution ones usually give us a better picture, but it's pretty much the same thing. Obviously, you can see higher concentration over in the eastern counties, and that's not really a question at this point. When you just look at the overall system, you can tell the closer you are to that center of circulation, the more likely you are to have heavier snowfall. So we're kind of on the end of that. So it makes sense that our eastern counties, the closest ones to the center of circulation, would see higher amounts in general. So same kind of thing from the Euro. And I'll play the GFS again just to play it, and it shows a very similar story as well all the way into Saturday night. The GFS doesn't quite have the coverage that the other ones have, but like I said, these are lower resolution models, so sometimes these really minute differences are harder to pick up on the long range models. So like I said, I'm going to show you this. I don't necessarily want you to get too caught up in the actual totals that the graph is forecasting here. A lot of times with the rainfall totals, with snowfall totals, the graph has big variation from run to run. So it's not necessarily super consistent in terms of forecasting the actual numbers. What I want you to pay attention to here is the trends. So like we've been talking about over and over, and I just really want to hammer that point home, our eastern counties are going to have the higher totals, but you can see what the graph does. It gets these other counties that have been included in the winter weather advisory in on the mix. So we're talking about, trace amounts to up to maybe an inch in those counties that are in the advisory, and then in the counties that are in the warning. Obviously, I told you kind of at the beginning here, this was going to have some areas that had over 4 inches of snowfall. It is possible, but I do think on a countywide basis, we're talking more about up to around 3 inches of snowfall. So this is kind of the trend that I want you to think about as we go throughout the day on Saturday, because these eastern counties are going to get a lot more consistent snowfall throughout the day, whereas these counties that are a little bit further towards the west on the I-75 corridor, they're going to have snowfall from time to time, but it's pretty much going to be an all-day situation for the counties in the east. So that is kind of the snowfall situation. I'm going to reiterate a few of the things that I just said as we get a little bit further into the stream here, but again, it's not the only story that we have heading into the weekend. We are going to be below freezing as we go throughout the day on Saturday in most places. Any snowfall that occurs is going to reinforce that cooler air, so it's going to help keep us near or below freezing. Then we head into the overnight hours. That wind I mentioned that starts to come in and the cooler air that gets filtered in with this system are really, really going to drop our temperatures here in the area. So that's going to be important for 2 reasons. One, it's going to keep anything around that felt. So if there is snow on the ground, if there's slush on the roads, all of that is going to refreeze in the overnight hours and potentially cause some issues in some of those areas that weren't quite, well prepared, if there wasn't brine on the roads, things like that. And it's just going to make it downright cold on early Sunday morning. So what you're looking at now, I know we've thrown a lot of different pinks and blues and all that kind of stuff. This is cold weather alerts, so this has nothing to do with winter weather potential, but we are looking right now at an extreme cold watch. So you know the difference between a watch and a warning. Watch means that it's likely to happen. A warning means it's expected. If we see this become bumped up to a warning within the next little bit or so, that's not really going to be a surprise. Usually we have to get within that 24-hour window for it to become a warning. So that could be the case as we go into Saturday. But what this means, as we head into Saturday, we're going to see the winds start to come in. Again, the temperatures are going to start to drop. And as we head in overnight hours, the temperatures are going to drop down into the teens. With that added wind chill, I'm talking wind gusts up to around 35 to even 40 miles an hour. The wind chills are going to be down in the single digits, in fact, near zero. So that is much, much colder air than we've had at any point so far this year. I know we've had a lot of cold days. We've had a lot of days with strong wind chills, but this is definitely the coldest air that we've seen so far. I'm going to show you what the actual temperatures are going to be like, and then I'm going to show you what the feels like numbers are going to be like once you factor in the strong winds that we're going to have. So we're looking at Saturday. Like I said, I think most of Saturday is going to be close to, if not at, freezing temperature. There may be some moments where we kind of jump into the mid-30s, but I think we're going to pretty consistently stay near 32 degrees throughout the day on Saturday, especially in the areas that actually end up receiving snowfall. So then we head into the overnight hours, and now we're at early Sunday morning. You can see the temperatures are in the teens. Again, remember what that means for the snow that fell. Anything that's out there is going to stay frozen or end up refreezing. if we're already in the teens, that's already downright bad. It's cold out there for sure. But again, when we factor in these winds, it's going to feel even worse. Then by Sunday afternoon, we are actually above freezing, but we're only in the upper 30s. So it's not necessarily warm outside, but hopefully on Sunday afternoon, there will be a little bit of melting out there, and we may be able to kind of help out with some of the road conditions in the daytime on Sunday. Of course, there is refreeze potential for Monday morning, but during some of the melting hours in the daytime, hopefully that can help out a little bit. So now let's talk about the winds that will be out there. Again, this whole system that's going to be moving into our area is filtering in these cooler air, these winds coming in from the northwest, and it's just going to be, again, a lot colder. So when we look at the projected wind gusts, I mean, these are pretty impressive. We're talking about wind gusts that I said over 35 miles an hour at times in a couple of spots. These are pretty strong winds throughout the day on Saturday, which is going to reinforce that cooler air here in our area. And then they stick with us overnight into early Sunday morning. Now, we're not talking about winds that are quite as bad in the early morning hours as 35-mile-an-hour wind gusts, but we're still talking about winds that can be pretty gusty, so up to 22 to 25 miles an hour in the morning, and that is going to make a difference in terms of how the temperatures feel. So we just looked at the actual temperatures. Now we're looking at the feels like temperatures. By Saturday afternoon, you saw the actual temperatures. We're going to be somewhere in the 30s. Take a look at the feels like numbers. We're already feeling like the teens, and this is only Saturday afternoon. So this is when the wind gusts are at their strongest. The feels like numbers are down in the teens. Then we head into the overnight hours and get ready to kick off early Sunday morning. I don't even want to look at it. We are going to be down in the single digits. Take a look at Atlanta, feeling like 0 degrees. In the overnight hours, Atlanta is feeling like -1. So this is what I mean. We just haven't experienced air like this so far this season. This is going to be, I wish there was a word beyond frigid or beyond cold. I mean, this is not what we experience on a regular basis here in Georgia. And again, you have to factor in that that is with added wind. So this is how it's really going to feel outside, like 4 or 5 degrees. Some areas could even feel close to 0 degrees. So that is going to be Sunday morning. We do warm up a little bit heading into Sunday afternoon. Like I said, we'll be in the upper 30s, but we still have a little bit of a breeze out there, and that will still make a little bit of a difference. We're going to feel like we're in the upper 20s or low 30s when we're actually sitting in the upper 30s. So that's why Sunday matters too. I know, of course, we have a lot of questions about winter weather potential, and that usually is our bigger focus. Sunday morning is going to be just as important also because this is going to impact the entire area. Every county in central Georgia will be feeling like that as we go into Sunday morning and then into Sunday afternoon as well. So something to definitely keep it on the radar, even with the excitement of snowfall here in the area. But with that being said, we will kind of talk a little bit more specifics, some take-home points for you as we go through the rest of the day in terms of the snowfall. So like I said this about enough times, you probably are sick of hearing me say it, but the accumulating snowfall is going to be likely in the warning and in the advisory areas. In the warning areas, those are the counties that are further towards the east. Those areas are going to see higher totals. So that's where we could see up to around 1 to maybe 3 inches of snowfall. And in the advisory area, it's going to be slightly lower total. So in the advisory area, we're still talking about some sort of accumulating snowfall, but it could be anything between a dusting to up to an inch. So the totals will definitely be a little bit higher over towards the east. That doesn't mean that here in the Macon area, you couldn't see a little bit of accumulation out on your yard. It just won't be quite the same thing that you're seeing over in the eastern counties because they're just going to be under a consistent snowfall situation through the entire day. So that will be the distinction between the two there. And then there is still a possibility for flurries and really, I'm talking really trace amounts outside of those areas in the advisory and the warning. You know, I wouldn't get super hung up on this, especially since they expanded that advisory and the warning. It is possible that a couple of those counties could see maybe a few flurries, but I do think that the chances overall to see snowfall coming down from the sky are better in those areas that are outlined by the National Weather Service. So this is as of, what is today? Friday morning. Obviously, you know how it goes. We will get more information as we go through the rest of the day. We'll see if there's any other swings in the models, but the National Weather Service issuing advisories and warnings usually is a pretty set in stone forecast. They don't tend to backtrack on those type of things. In fact, they tend to add more instead of taking people out. So we can kind of safely say that at least for right now, those areas in the advisory and in the warning are looking like they'll see some sort of snowfall accumulation through tomorrow. So I had thrown this in there at the beginning of the stream just to kind of talk about life beyond the snowfall chance that we have for the upcoming weekend, but I I don't even know if we really necessarily want to touch on it. I'll kind of show you what's going on as we head into the work week. We will be dry, of course, after that snow chance comes through. We do have a rain chance on the way for Wednesday. Rain chance, not snow chance. And I just wanted to kind of show you what it looks like here on the long range models. You'll see it on the 7-day. It looks like it could be a decent chance for us to have at least some scattered showers across the area. But that will be kind of the main rain chance that we have on the 7-day forecast. I was thinking, we might want to touch on other things, but honestly, with the chances that we have here in the forecast, I think it's probably just safest to focus on what's going on Saturday and what's going on Sunday morning. Saturday is the snowfall. Sunday morning is the cold temperatures. There will not be any snowfall happening on Sunday morning. It's really just that Saturday time frame in the 30s Sunday afternoon. So really not warming up a good bit. And honestly, as we kick off the work week, we're still in the teens for early Monday morning. But the silver lining is that we do get back up into the upper 40s by the time we head into Monday afternoon. And then beyond that, the 7-day forecast starts to look a little bit more normal. The high temperatures are going to go back into the 50s. The low temperatures will climb back into the 30s. And we will generally be working our way back towards numbers that make a little more sense for this time of year. So again, that's kind of the latest with this winter weather potential. Of course, as you know from the last couple of days, we do a lot of updates on this throughout the day. So we will be right back at midday with the latest information. Meteorologist David Guerrero will be in. And then, of course, we will be here all weekend with more on what's going on as we watch the snowfall event unfold across our area. So thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you right back here at midday.